Well, we're here.
Yes, believe it or not.
I know we've been kind of in and out lately. I don't know
Yeah.
what it was. I was out yesterday. I was at the Bayonne Library in Bayonne, New Jersey, which is a pretty good place to have the Bayonne Library, don't you think?
And I heard it was a very good good session there.
Yeah, it really had a lot of fun. The emergency management guys there, Junior, as he is well known, put it all together for me, and Edward Ferrante, just absolutely terrific how it turned out, and got to meet a lot of great people, and had the Boy Scouts that came out. A big Boy Scout troop showed up last night, and
unfortunately, I was not able to watch. I mean, there were connectivity issues.
Yeah.
But I know that now was it Junior who gave you the real send off at the very beginning? Or whatever?
He read every word I wrote for him. It was great. I was kind of, blushing all shades of red. And he's just such a good guy. And he took me to dinner too, which is even better. The shrimp was delicious. It really was.
And here we are now, a week after last Friday. Last Friday we had some very heavy rains on Friday night, and then we had a very windy Saturday. And guess what, Joe? Mother Nature has decided to give us an autumn rerun.
Doing it all over again, pretty much the same way. Yeah. We're in this very active, fast pattern, and kind of get these weather systems are coming through every couple of days,
right.
And they're coming through with some punch to them. And I often think back to active Novembers are, usually kind of a sign of the winter going forward. It doesn't always work out that way, but I think more often than not, when Novembers are busy, it's a good indicator that the winter's going to be busy in one form or another.
And you're absolutely right, because after we get through tomorrow night, we have another punch, if you will, for next Tuesday, next week. So.
And we're going to take a look at both of those things. So just first of all, I'm Joe Cioffi, Fios One News Long Island and Fios One News New Jersey.
Is that who you were?
I was when I left here the other day, and I was that when I came in today.
Amazingly, I'm Joe, same name, Joe Rayo. We would have called this the Joe and Joe Show, I think.
This is the Joe and Joe Show.
Joe Rayo, Fios One News, Lower Hudson Valley.
All right, so I tell you what, why don't we, we'll start with the nationwide watches and warnings, and then we're going to, I think at some point we'll also bring up, the new NAM is coming out now, so it'll be good. We'll look at the first storm, and then it's not going to go out far enough for the second one, but at least we'll give it a look. But we've got another round of these flash flood watches that are up from the northern half of New Jersey, northeast, all through southern New England, only up for half of Long Island, Nassau, and not Suffolk. And I hope not to be cynical, but that probably means it floods in Suffolk and not Nassau.
You know what's making this confusing for me, actually, is the fact that the four main counties, Westchester, Rockland, Putnam, and Orange County, are under what is being described as a flash flood watch.
Right.
Meantime, areas to the north that are handled by Albany, Dutchess County, Sullivan, Ulster County, and down across northern New Jersey, it's simply a flood watch.
I'm not sure, well...
And basically, we're thinking about the same amounts, and we're thinking about them all falling in the same length of time. But it's a flash flood watch here and a regular flood watch there. Folks, you're going to get wet.
At the bottom line is, maybe that has to do with, excuse me, with all the rain that we've had. The rivers are probably running pretty high, as opposed to down around southern areas where it's more along the lines of flooding of roadways and. The clogged drains in the usual suspect spots.
Right.
But nonetheless, you've got that going on. You've got winter weather advisories in eastern Kansas and western Missouri, and also in western Michigan. And you've got a slew of freeze warnings and frost warnings across the southern plains and in the Tennessee Valley. And I mentioned that, Joe, because that's this cold air mass that is dropping southward out of Canada. The first winter storm warnings, I think, of the season, and a good place to find them in northern Wisconsin and the upper peninsula of Michigan. So, it's kind of, like I said, it's busy, and it's liable to, maybe it's an indicator of where we are going forward. But let's bring up, I got the surface map. I got a surface map up in here. Let me find my window. Where are you? Here we go.
I might point out also that while the Climate Prediction Center guys have been forecasting, below, probabilities of below normal, well below normal in some cases, in the eastern half of the nation. You look longer range down the line toward the latter part of November.
Well, we're going to get a break.
And everybody is going to turn warm here.
I think that kind of makes sense. We've been in this really wet, fast pattern, and we've been getting these shots of chilly air masses coming in. There haven't been anything exceptional, but it seems like it's time. We changed in mid-October. We had a pattern flip in the middle of the month. So now it looks like we'll probably have another pattern flip going after about 5 weeks of this, so that sort of makes sense. I think it's a break of a week or so might during Thanksgiving week.
Right.
I think whatever break we get is probably not going to last. And we'll see another movement of the chess pieces around as we get into December. I don't know where they're going to wind up, but I do think there's going to be more motion.
Yeah.
Here's the I got the temperatures in the radar across where it's snowing tonight across northern Missouri into Illinois. Raining, I believe, in St. Louis, but the snow is not that far north and west of there. And in fact, yeah, I still left it up. So this is the forecast snowfall from this. It's nothing major. We'll let the rest of the map load up, but you're looking at 1 to 2 inch amounts at the moment. But then when you get up into Michigan and into the upper peninsula of Michigan, in the northern lakes, you start to get into those areas where they have winter storm warnings up, and you're looking at foot plus in those areas.
Yes.
And then as far as the first weather system is concerned, with our neck of the woods, northwestern PA, on up through upstate New York, off the lake shores, elevation driven, I believe, a general 1 to 3 or 4 inch snowfall with a few peaks getting higher amounts. And then you've got some vigorous amounts up in the northern half of Maine, which is not a shock this time of year.
No, it's not. And people have been asking me about next Tuesday's event because they've been hearing rumblings that, this one's going to go from rain to snow, even in parts of the tri-state area. And I don't really see that happening. I was actually surprised. I was listening to a radio station. I'll just hint that it's a news radio station, highly listened to. If you haven't figured out what I'm alluding to,
I know.
And their weather service, the forecast for next Tuesday was simply say rain or mixed rain and snow. And I'm saying, so where are they getting the snow from? I mean, I really don't see snow.
There were a couple of runs of the GFS the last couple of days, which kind of implied that maybe there would be a changeover to snow before it ends. I'm just not really overly excited by that or anything.
In other words, it's not fascinating. Yes.
No, it's not. No, not anywhere fascinating. Which those of you who are friends with me on Facebook know that that's a key word that I throw out when the weather gets busy. So tomorrow's rain, as Joe is going to key on, you've got this low that's coming. This energy that's coming out of the plains. You get a low that forms in eastern Kentucky, runs up into northwest Ohio and into Canada. Secondary low forms, and it forms pretty close to us. So we're going to be right at that point where
right on the triple point.
The triple point. Yeah. So that's where you see that big blob there of yellow and red. The heaviest rains right across where they have the flash flood watch up, and the GFS is generating a narrow stripe of about 2 to 3 inches worth of rain. And you know what?
If you get that in 6 or 8 hours, there's your flash.
There's your flooding.
Yeah.
And then after that, the gradient tightens. It's a windy and cold Saturday. And Saturday night, Sunday morning. I think Sunday morning we stand a good chance of. There have been still a few areas like the warmer urban locations, some spots right along the immediate coast, and the areas surrounding those warmer urban centers that have not gone below 32. This probably should take almost all of them out.
Right.
Except maybe for Midtown Manhattan and a couple of other odd spots. The 32-degree mark should be done. And Sunday looks like a nicer day, but it's cold. I don't think it's going to it's certainly not going to get out of the 40s. And some places it may not get much above the mid-40s, low to mid-40s.
Right.
Monday, quiet, but now you've got this next energy and next system that comes up, and you're going to wind up, and there's some question with this because of and I'll bring up the upper air and I'll show you what I mean. So, you look at the GFS, you got this, system that comes out of the Gulf states, runs up into eastern North Carolina, and keeps going up northeast. On the northwest side, you're talking way west of I-81 and up through upstate New York, elevation-driven snow that continues later Tuesday up into northern New England as the low moves away. And then we get this shot of really cold air for Wednesday. Wednesday morning, we could be in the 20s to low 30s, and cold Wednesday and on Thursday. But here's where the dilemma is. And I'm not understanding why the models have done this. So you look at the GFS trough for Tuesday, and in fact, I might be better to look at it on this view. All right.
Okay.
Big ridge in the west. You got this deep trough, upper low that's sitting just north of Lake Superior. Very vigorous upper low, and then it gets really vigorous as it swings eastward Tuesday night and Wednesday, brings the cold air. I just want to point out that a little short wave at the bottom of that trough kind of gets left behind back through Texas. Right. All right. So let's go back to Tuesday morning. This is Tuesday morning. Now I want to switch to the European. Okay. It's kind of got the same idea, except that vortex that's down near Lake Superior is much further to the north. And then look at that southern trough. It's already kind of getting stretched out.
Like bagginess.
But it leaves it behind.
Right.
And while the system in the east swings on through, it's not nearly as vigorous as the GFS is.
Right.
And the reason why I bring this up is, well, for two reasons. First off, it's kind of funny to me because it was the GFS that was doing this about 2 or 3 days ago,
right.
And it was the European that was doing the exact opposite, and now the two models have kind of flipped. The reason why I say this is because the European would have a different scenario for Tuesday by taking a low up the spine of the Appalachians all the way up. Mm-hmm. They both seem to wind up in the same place in eastern Canada on Wednesday morning, but it would mean for a much different kind of an event.
Right. And
it certainly would not mean the snows that would be indicated on the GFS would be less than half of that on the European. So I mean, here's the GFS, and I didn't have time to bring it up, but I can bring up European snow maps. So the next time we do the show tomorrow night, I'll do this. So I mean, if you wind up with a low next week that goes up east of the Carolinas, there are probably going to be some quote unquote sizable amounts in parts of up in western New York and western PA, and then you go up into northern New England. But when you look at the European with a kind of a weak low going up, pretty far inland, almost 300 miles further to the west,
right.
You're going to wind up with less than half of that,
right.
if even that. So that's what we're going to resolve. I agree with you. As far as snow here down the coast, if it's going to happen, it would only happen right at the very end, right. And it would have to be a slightly different look of what we're seeing now.
Maybe not necessarily the very end, but I mean, if you want to get your first glimpse of snowflakes for this upcoming season, if we get a vigorous wind blowing on Wednesday, particularly from the northwest, and particularly if there are any snow bands near the Great Lakes, it's not out of the question that wind could drive some of those snow showers all the way south and east into the trough.
I think Wednesday, with the upper trough coming through, I think Wednesday that there might be some snow showers.
It might be worth mentioning, a chance for a flurry or for a snow shower.
Wednesday,
right.
But long after the main event is done.
Exactly.
And that's not worth getting overly excited about, other than to say that, we got the first snowflakes out there.
Well, I mean, it all depends on whether or not it's a flurry, which is just a few flakes in the air, or whether or not you do get a snow shower. I remember it was in 2015.
That whitens the ground or something.
Well, I mean, I remember distinctly in 2015, and I only mention this because, as a Met fan, it was during the NLCS when the Mets were playing the Cubs at Citi Field. It was a frigidly cold Sunday, so cold, in fact, it was probably more appropriate for a football than a baseball game. But at like 11 o'clock that morning, I look out the window, and it is snowing to beat the band. We had an S-plus snow shower. It only lasted for about 15 minutes. And it did actually whiten the ground in parts of my backyard. But, if you get something like that, and that's not completely and totally out of the question on Wednesday, but it's as you would say, a cheap thrill.
All right, so here's the new NAM tonight, just out off the presses, and bringing in some snow to Chicago and Detroit out of this. And then here comes our... I don't think there's going to be much rain here until tomorrow afternoon. After about 1 or 2 o'clock, we start to get into a little bit of rain. And here's that triple point heavy rain on the NAM. This is at 9 o'clock tomorrow night.
Right.
And then that goes by. You would agree it's all out of here by...
It's pretty fast.
Yeah, I mean, it's out
by midnight.
By midnight, it's done.
Yeah.
And I don't see any problem with that. Certainly, now I don't know why it does this. This is, at least for eastern Long Island, looks like, one last burst of showers with a cold front that's extending out offshore. But the wind will kick in on Saturday, so that looks like everything seems to be on course. Lake effect snows in upstate New York will be occurring in some places. But we're just going to have that cold, windy, and dry weekend. Right.
And the brighter of the 2 days, the sunnier of the 2 days will likely be Sunday. There may be a lot of instability clouds developing in the afternoon on Saturday with that roaring, gusty wind. But then on the other hand, it's so dry, you may have all of that squeezing effect, so to speak, in the atmosphere. But it's like squeezing a dry sponge. What's there to squeeze?
Sure. And by the way, just to show you with Wednesday of next week, after this goes by, if the GFS is right with that really deep vortex and trough, by Wednesday morning, these are 7 a.m. forecast temperatures. So you're talking about temperatures down to freezing all the way to the Gulf Coast into the 20s near Baton Rouge, down in southern Mississippi, and teens even not that far away from us, upper 20. This might take this. If we don't take the freezing marks out in those last few places on Sunday, I think we'll take them out on Wednesday. And then Wednesday during the day looks really cold, maybe only back to 40 or so. And Thursday morning, we're talking about temperatures in the 20s to around 30 just about everywhere.
But before all of that happens, on Tuesday with the next shot of rain, temperatures conceivably could briefly rise back up into the 50s.
Well, if you look right here for Tuesday morning, you've got the edge of 50 plus over eastern Long Island and coastal New Jersey, which is what you would expect from a coastal low. If you follow the temperatures, look at the dark reds, folks. This is kind of telling you where the track of the storm is as it rides up along or just offshore, the boundary there.
Right.
So you just look at the isotherms, the equal lines of equal temperatures, or the path of the equal temperatures, and how it goes, and that's kind of telling you how the surface system is moving. And then you can also see the cold air sweeping in on the backside. So there's a certain logic to how things happen in the weather world with these storm systems in terms of how they track.
In fact, tomorrow the temperatures for a while in the afternoon may be rather raw and damp and chilly, and only in the 40s.
Yeah, I agree.
And then all of a sudden it jumps up briefly into the 50s, perhaps tomorrow evening, and then after the triple point low passes by, everything, it's like literally like an upheaval, so to speak. The temperatures drop, the wind picks up, and we're off to the races for another cold, albeit dry weekend.
Well, let's see if we can get some folks on the chat board tonight and see what they have to say. There's Junior. I had a great time, Junior. Loved you too. It was great, and we'll do it again. And Robert, I promised you, and it's going to happen. Okay, we are going to meet. Let's see, just running through these questions. Come on. Hi to everybody, by the way. Let's see. Daniel was curious earlier. He had asked me, messaged me and asked me about when you get the subtropical jet and the polar jet getting very, very close together.
Right.
In terms of the distance between them and what could wind up happening. You certainly could wind up eventually with a big storm developing and heavy precipit and overrunning. Yes.
Yeah. No question about that. That happened with the Groundhog Day storm in 1976. It was like in the 50s, where the polar jet came crashing down the subtropical jet stream, pumping in all of this moisture, and we had a storm that within hours dropped to 28.50 inches near Cape Cod. It was incredible.
Dan McSwain says thanks to both of us. He's watching us from Bloomsburg, Pennsylvania.
Oh, my in-law, my father-in-law lives very close to where you live, in Brodheadsville, Pennsylvania in the Northeast.
Wayne McDonald wants to know what the winds will be like in the Canadian Maritimes. Okay, well, why don't we take a look? And I'm going to bring up the southeastern Canada map. Where are you? Southeastern Canada. I wish he had. He doesn't have. Oh, has a 10-meter wind, so that's good. We can look at it that way.
Oh, those are pretty fierce winds, Joe.
All right, that's for the second system. Let's go back. All right, so here we go. This is. All right, hold on, Wayne. I want you to see this, okay? So just give me 1 second. We'll get the window up. All right, so these are the winds forecast by the GFS for Saturday morning. And I'll back it up. At least through Friday, there's nothing going on for you there wind-wise. But then Friday night, for Nova Scotia anyway, you do have some gales. The yellow is 30 knots sustained. So you do have gales along the coast on Saturday. And then those winds start to spread up northeastward to the east shores of New Brunswick and on up toward Newfoundland. It's pretty windy in there.
Yeah. That's from the Gaspé Peninsula all the way south and eastward to the lower part of Newfoundland Island.
Yes, and then even on Sunday, on the offshore waters anyway, it's right along the coast. You've got gales. And it just really look how windy it gets in there. I don't know, I don't know how the climate works when you don't pay attention to this stuff on the, if you don't live there.
Right.
So you don't really, we don't really know unless we get opportunities to look. And one of the things that I've really enjoyed a lot about when we do these live streams and when I do my YouTube live streams, and we've got people watching from all over the place, is that you get to look. You get to look. You start to get a little bit of a feel for what happens there, and it actually helps us when we're forecasting down where we are.
Right.
Because we see what the impacts are going forward.
For a good number of years, I used to do on radio a radio station in Yarmouth, Nova Scotia, and after a couple of winters, I learned very quickly about how the winds blow across the Bay of Fundy and create snow showers.
Yes,
and in fact, I ended up calling them Fundy flurries.
and this, by the way, this is for Tuesday with the low going into the Gulf of Maine. There, you've got some gales running all along the coast. Some strong gales. The reds are all 40 knots or higher. This is Tuesday late afternoon and evening, and then the winds are still gusty, but they do subside a little bit as we go into Wednesday and beyond. So it looks like you've got some pretty windy weather coming up your way with all these storm systems. And of course, each one's going to produce some rain. And my understanding was that it was pretty dry in Nova Scotia for a good part of the summer. So these weather systems coming along certainly aren't a negative for your area, unless you tell me otherwise.
Yeah, the man upstairs always knows how to balance the checkbook.
Yes.
You get a long stretch of dry weather, you just know that there's going to be a long stretch of wet weather, and who knows, maybe this is the long stretch now moving into the winter.
All right, so William Huber wants to know from you, Joe, what's your gut feeling on the winter?
I think we're going to see some shots. I think there's going to be variations, periods of mild weather, but also periods of extreme cold, and I think we were in the ballpark for some significant snowfall. I know that when NOAA came out with their long-term prediction and was calling for a mild and wet winter, everybody just arbitrarily said, oh, that means it's not going to get cold. Oh, that means we're not going to see any snow or not much snow at all or whatever. No, that's not the way it works. There are going to be periods over time when we're going to see some cold shots, and I think we'll be looking at it. It'll be interesting to see, though, if it's the way it's been the last couple of winters where we have
a lot of volatility.
A lot of volatility. As February, for example, this past winter, very, very mild, but yet January, late December and early January, we were in the deep freeze. It didn't look like we were going to come out.
You know my view on this. I just can't look at weather that way in terms of the long range. If only because of the fact that over the years we've seen more than enough forecasters just literally blow up to smithereens regarding the long range in both directions. I might add. I prefer just watching the short to medium range evolve and just focus on that. I I can't put my head around a month from now or 2 months from now. I just can't.
People just need to know what's
And I've always asked the question, and Andrew Wells, asking me about my December being above normal warm because he doesn't want a blowtorch holiday season, and neither do I. I will agree with you on that. But, I mean, it's just kind of hard to get my head around a pattern as it is, and then to try to kind of visualize where it's all going to go when you don't have a complete understanding of all the intricate technical things that are involved when it comes to the long range. I don't know. To me, it's kind of an exercise in futility. Let's put it that way.
Blizzard? Pam asks. Wow. Who said anything about Blizzard?
Who said it? Yeah, no. we're not doing that. Okay, let's see. Lake Hapatkang is having, Lisa Watts says, Lake Hapatkang. Can you say that? Am I saying it right?
It's somewhere in New Jersey.
No, it's Lake Hapatkang.
Yeah.
Is having their 5-year drawdown for dock repairs this year. The rain is keeping the dam flowing. Well, you know what? The pattern's going to continue. The rainy pattern may break after the Tuesday storm. Okay? If the overall pattern's going to change for Thanksgiving week, we might get a bit of a break from these regular storms coming through every 2 days or so. So, I mean, it might give you a bit of a window of opportunity there.
We had that snowstorm on Thanksgiving a few years ago, right? Was it 2013, 2014? We had snow, several inches, at least up in the Hudson Valley, I remember. In Thanksgiving.
It might have been well inland. I don't think down on the coast.
No, I don't think the coastal areas had it, but I mean up where I am.
Yeah.
We had a few inches of snow on Thanksgiving, and I think it was 2013. I'm not sure though. I used to remember these things like that, but
I know.
The mind is the first thing to go.
Yes. The mind is a terrible thing to lose.
Yes.
And speaking of going, we got to go. Oh, that reminds me, too. I'm just looking at myself on the screen. I need a haircut.
I'm getting one on Saturday, actually, believe it or not.
You're getting them all cut?
Yeah, all of them are going to get cut.
Mm-hmm. And you're going to have your colorist dyeing your hair just right.
It's just going to stay just the way it is.
Yeah, okay. No, I mean, you know what I mean.
Okay.
My roots.
Yeah, well...
A cup of henna to a gallon of water. All right, folks. So check out. I got a live stream up from earlier on YouTube. If you want to check that out. Yes, exactly.
Henna rinse.
Henna rinse. So Joe and I will be back tomorrow.
No, we won't.
Oh, that's right. No, I'm solo tomorrow.
That's right.
That's right. So
it's your turn to solo.
We actually did a Joe and Joe show twice this week. Okay, so I'm solo tomorrow. And then we'll be back Monday together.
Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday.
Okay, so...
wait a minute. You're off?
I'm off... No, next week. I'm not off next week.
Okay, but I'm off on... I think I'm off Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday.
Right. Yeah. So you and I will be together Monday and Tuesday.
I don't know anymore.
Well, you know what? You'll get your notification on Facebook, okay? Sorry, so let's leave it at that. Joe and I will be back tomorrow night. I'll be doing my regular stuff on my YouTube channel, so you can check that out too. And of course, tomorrow morning, first thing, you've got La Banson and La Fitzgerald on tomorrow morning. Brian and Jeffrey
and then,
on Fios One News.
And then Addison doing his solo, because I believe Miss Brittany Boyle is
she's also... Addison will be on Long Island, New Jersey, and Hudson Valley. And you just reminded me, I promised I was going to try to Skype him in tonight, and I completely forgot. Tomorrow we'll solo Addison during the day, okay? And then tomorrow night I'm here, but it'll just be the Joe show.
The Joe show.
Okay. Have a great night, everybody. I'll see you tomorrow. Joe will be back on Monday, and
stay dry.
Stay dry.